What did this budget bring you? Where is the affordable housing going to come from? Is there any possibility that we will all have a home in the Housing for All by 2022? Before I introduce our aptly named Big Impact panel, let me take you through the highlights of the budget of today. Like I told you, affordable housing could get a boost. First-time home buyers have something to take home from this budget. There are tax benefits there for first-time home buyers. In the monetization, also digitization of land records, a very, very welcome move for all of us, whether it's industry or as buyers. Massive allocation for urban roads and rural connectivity. REITs gets a breather as well. So today on the Urban Debate, the biggest panel I could possibly put together in the real estate sector joins me this evening to find out if your home was actually a priority in this budget, and if you're actually going to be able to buy a home by the end of this year. Abhishek Lodha, Managing Director, the Lodha Group. Sanjay Dutt, Managing Director, India, Cushman Wakefield. Sanjay Ubale, Managing Director and CEO, Tata Realty Infrastructure. Gitambar Anand, President, CREDAI National and Managing Director at ATS. Irfan Razak, Chairman and Managing Director at Prestige Group and the National Chairman of CREDAI. Rohit Gera, Managing Director at Gera Developments. I'm also told Niranjan Hirandani from Hirandani Group will join us shortly as well, but it is a fantastic panel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for the home buyer this evening. It is a pleasure to have all of you on the show. I want to do a quick opening round of arguments on where you see this budget going. Abhishek Lodha, I'm going to start with you. I saw your note that your team sent out on the fact that you're happy with this budget. If that's true, explain to me why. Explain to me where the home buyer is going to get his, get his relief from.
I think at a very macro level, the budget did the right thing for the national economy, which is to keep the fiscal deficit under control and yet help the rural economy, which has been suffering for the last 2 years. And in our opinion, that will lead to a better quality of growth going forward. Specifically with relation to home buyers, there is a host of incentives and tax breaks which have come in for homes which are smaller in size, 30 and 60 square meters. And I think that will lead to creation of great amount of housing stock in that smaller housing segment, affordable housing segment, and will lead to greater availability of medium price homes for the urban dweller.
Well, I want to ask you this, and anybody in the panel, this is an open debate, anybody in the panel jump in on this. The incentive that developers got for affordable housing comes with a 3-page long listing of conditions, and it eliminates a lot of things that are already in the market. Things like you have to finish within 3 years of receiving your commencement certificate. Only 1,000 square meters in land that will qualify. There's a long list, and if you don't finish in 3 years, well, then the profits will be taxed. Sanjay Ubale, what fits into this category at this point?
Well, actually, the long list of conditions that it's a kind of discouragement for the developers to go for a scheme of this kind. I think typically for mass scale housing or affordable housing, you'll typically need very large tracts of land. Essentially, you'll have to bring in technology. And the fine print actually suggests that you can't really go in for large townships.
Yes.
Potentially, even getting permissions is going to be a major issue. It doesn't really talk about how the governments or the regulators which are going to come in, how they're going to facilitate this entire process of getting your permissions fast. So I think unless that is really addressed, it might look like that it's a noble intention, but I think putting it on the ground might be a bit of an issue.
This is the thing. So it says, and when the finance minister read out his speech, he said, after approvals, you have to complete within 3 years after approval. And we looked at the fine print, and it doesn't say after all your approvals are in. Your time starts ticking on the 3 years when your first approval comes in, which is your commencement certificate. Irfan Razak, is it possible at all to build this sort of affordable housing on a 3-year clock?
I think 3 years is a fairly decent time. All it needs is a bit of proper planning. And I think the 3-year time limit has been given because you can't take time endless on and not deliver the product to the customers. And that's the biggest stress that is going on in the system just now, is that developers take on more than they can chew and they are unable to deliver within the required time.
6 months. How will
we also have our constraints. No, I believe that we have to get, it should be after all clearances are received, because commencement certificate does come only after the clearances are received. So I believe once you're all on board, and if you really plan properly, and if you know that the clock is ticking on you, it's not impossible to do it. And then there's a big incentive at the end of it. But I believe the way forward is, in case if you make up your mind and want to do value homes, affordable homes, I think that's the way to go. That's another, sort of asset class that you can really concentrate on while you're doing the many other things that you're doing. So it's an opportunity. It all depends on how you look at it.
Kitambar Anand, do you see this as a great opportunity? Is this an opportunity you will take up?
Well, there's the Yamuna Expressway, and there is a huge opportunity there. The only thing which we would again present to government is to relook at the sizes. One is we had proposed from Kadai to keep the sizes at 60 square meters for metros and 90 square meters for areas outside the metro. But coming back to this 1,000 square meters, I'm sure it's an oversight, and we will again go back to the government, because when you're talking of unleashing supply, they must be talking of a minimum of 1,000 square meters, not a maximum. So this is, I'm sure it's an oversight. It will have to be relooked. Otherwise, how can you generate supply if you limit it to 1,000 square meters?
Let's do a dipstick review on this panel. We have 5 developers on this panel right now. Rohit Gera building in Pune, not qualified as urban. Pune is not urban. Pune is maybe semi-urban, Rohit Gera. So would you take up that challenge of starting a project, 1,000 square feet of land, finish it in 3 years?
No, I think there's some serious concerns here. Look, one is you've got a 3-year time period. You need to plan for 4 months at the very least to look at your occupancy certificates. So you're really reduced down to 32 months. One of the other fine print rules says that you have to complete 80% of the FAR that is available within that 3-year time period, which means you're automatically limiting yourself to the size of the project. You can't do anything of any major scale if you want to actually get it all done. There's no reference to phasing in this whole thing. So I think that there's some serious concerns. I think the intent was good. I think a lot of these onerous conditions that they've put has been as a result of the problems that they face with developers misusing the erstwhile ATIB scheme.
Yes.
And therefore, I think these conditions which they've put in are good for some developers. You can do something within the municipal corporation.
Niranjan Hiranandani joins us on the show with our super impact panel this evening on the real estate sector. Niranjan Hiranandani, are you happy with this budget? Where is the affordable housing going to come from? All of those things that we talked about last week that we were expecting, we got none of it. Let's be honest here.
I think one of the things they have just forgotten is that 14 years ago, Mr. Vajpayee brought about affordable housing in a much, much bigger way, where affordable housing in Mumbai was 1,000 square feet per person. Now it's shrunk. They made it only 30 square meters or around 300 square feet. Outside Mumbai and Delhi, it was 1,500 square feet was affordable housing. Now it has been shrunk to 60 square meters or 600 square feet. I don't understand why you need to shrink the size of affordable housing, right? Because NDA government itself with Vajpayee had given housing at a much, much liberal status from the bottom of their heart.
Mr. Hiranandani, if they don't set the square foot, the size, and it's open to market pricing, then it won't be affordable anymore.
That's not true. Look at what has happened in the case of Noida. We created enough housing, whether it was 1 bedroom, lesser than that, or 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom. The prices have been 3,500. As long as you created volumes. The secret is not about trying to limit the size of people for posterity and for the next 100 years. You can't create for 30 square meters and expect that people will live there forever. And you're now talking about giving affordable houses to everybody. Why do you want to shrink the sizes of these houses? I think you need to be more liberal than that. Of course, I must give credit to the government that they're talking about affordable houses in a much more liberal way, similar to what had happened earlier by Vajpayee government.
If you look at the three-page, Mr. Hirandani, the three-page list of conditions for this affordable housing benefit, does it seem somehow that the government was a little hesitant when, being generous towards the real estate industry?
No, I think some Babu has written down those terms and conditions. The government's intent and the Prime Minister is very clear. Give volumes. Just the same way he markets India and brings volumes of money, large amount of quantities to do. His idea is to create volumes. Somewhere down the line, the Babus, I think, have messed it up.
Irfan Razak, have the Babus messed up this budget? Did someone who was not familiar with how real estate works actually write this clause?
No, I disagree because the Babus are very intelligent. And the whole idea is to see that really affordable housing is created, and they probably, instead of going on price, they've gone on size. But I think the size they could have considered 60 and 90 meters and maybe brought in a slightly lower version of 45 meters, because I agree with Niranjan, 30 meters is too small. It becomes an EWS and a very, very small house. I think whoever we build for also has to have a certain living condition, a certain decent living condition. So I think a 45-meter house would have been the minimum size, and we shouldn't build anything smaller than that. Then we are only congesting and creating too much density.
I think there's a great change, there's a great effort, there's an intent from the part of government. We need to sensitize them that, whatever's been proposed can be done better if you make these particular changes that Rohit has mentioned.
There was one other thing that we need to focus on as home buyers, especially as home buyers who live in urban India. And there are a lot of young people who work in cities like Bombay, in Pune, in Bangalore, who have hometowns in Tier 2 India. Now, here's the thing. If you've not bought a home up till now and you're looking to make an investment, you now have an extra 50,000 rupees tax deduction that came out of this budget that's available to you if you buy a home that's priced at lower than 50 lakh rupees and borrow a home loan at less than 35 lakh rupees. Sanjay, do you see this as an investment opportunity for young India? If I'm making a salary here in Mumbai or in Bangalore, to buy back home from wherever I came from?
Well, really, if you're in Mumbai, I think you'll have a few years before you actually be able to buy one.
Right.
And I think it'll be tough to do that. But I think when you look at opportunities as a migrant, there are a lot of migrants that you see flocking to these major cities. And you can have a rental accommodation to begin with as your career starts. And as you start building your career, you actually have more economic wealth accumulating with you to be able to invest.
Right. So we have to take another very quick break, but we're going to come back and talk about new centers of investments that can pop up for young India who wants to be part of the growth of the Indian real estate industry. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Mega Impact Real Estate panel with me this evening. We're talking about the announcements we heard in the Union Budget. Just before we went into break, we talked about the opportunity that's available to us now to buy homes that are outside of our cities, that are within the 50 lakh rupee bracket, that will allow us an extra tax deduction of 50,000 rupees. Sanjay Bale, if I was looking for an investment like that, what are the new areas of opportunity you believe we have as young Indians right now to invest in?
Well, I think I would bet on Panvel and the area around where the airport is coming up. The new port is likely to come up. I think that's really the area where, to my mind, that's going to be the new Mumbai that's going to happen. I think for the young Indians, I would say that should be the area they should be.
Isn't that where you're building?
Well, I don't think that's from the connectivity point of view, because the younger lot would probably need connectivity to the outside world. Probably they might want to be closer to the airport and places from where they can move out very quickly.
Sure. And during the rail budget, we heard some interesting announcements in terms of connectivity that will come up to Navi Mumbai from CST, from the old airport to the new airport that will come up in Navi Mumbai. So there's a lot of promise there. Trans Harbour, Sea Link. So there's a lot of promise there of connectivity as well. Niranjan Hirandani, where's the next Powai coming up? So we know.
Well, you said it just now, and so did Sanjay. I think Panvel is the next location that you're going to see. And Naina, which is the bordering of Navi Mumbai, is also going to be an area. That area is more than 2.5 times the size of whole of Mumbai. So I think that's a great opportunity just outside it. And with, as you said, the Trans Harbour link and the railway line which Mr. Prabhu has announced, the rapid elevated corridor right from VT to Panvel is going to be the difference, and Panvel to Karjat is already announced last year. So I think a combination of that with the Navi Mumbai airport is going to see that sector also grow. The western side,
But,
of course, will grow.
You're also looking at cities outside of Mumbai. We don't have to focus on Mumbai here. It's a national channel. Tell us where else.
I think lots of places outside the periphery of cities are going to see it, because you see the metro still has a great draw. So if you see Bangalore, you'll see the periphery of Bangalore. If you see Chennai, the periphery of Chennai. If you see Pune, the periphery of Pune. If you see Ahmedabad, the Gandhinagar and other belts